thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome to TMC Connect. My name is Tony Bramley, and I'm the Director of Business Development here at the Mortgage Collaborative. We appreciate that you guys have stopped by today for how Gold Star Financial leveraged eVault to drive eNote adoption. We've got Whitney Vogt with us from SnapDocs and Dave Williams from Gold Star Financial. We appreciate your time and are looking forward to a great conversation. Just a couple of housekeeping things. You guys are on mute, but we do want this to be engaging. So please drop your comments or your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we will address those at the end of the discussion. And also wanted to let you know that there'll be a follow-up email that comes to you in your email box tomorrow with a link to the recording for this session. And if you've got any questions, we'll also include contact information for Whitney, and you can reach out with any questions that you may have. So thank you very much. Get ready for a great ride. And Whitney, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Tony, and really appreciate this opportunity. Very grateful to have Dave join us and talk about our favorite topic, eNotes and eVaults and getting started. So with that, why don't we jump right in and use our time wisely. I'm Whitney Vogt. I'm a solution principal with SnapDocs. And I have spent the last 5 years in the eClose space doing implementation, scaling, ramping at a lender, and also now working closely with SnapDocs customers and prospects to navigate the eClose space. And Dave, you've been with Gold Star many years.
Yes, I've been with Gold Star for 5.5 years now. And all 5.5 years, that was my only mortgage experience, but I am a 20-year technology veteran in many verticals.
Fantastic. Well, again, thanks for joining. We're really excited to dig deep into to your experience. So today's agenda, we're just going to cover some quick topics, go over a little bit about why now is the time to really start thinking constructively about implementing eNotes and digital closings, how to evaluate the right eVault partner. There's great technologies out there. SnapDocs released its proprietary eVault late last year to a lot of success, but really talk about what a lender should look at when they're evaluating that partnership. And lastly, we really want to spend some time talking about Gold Star's experience, how they implemented, scaled, and reached some meaningful goals very quickly. So very briefly, now's the time to prepare and realize the benefits. As many of you know, SnapDocs recently released a study on quantifying the value of digital closings in eClose, and there's been some great data points collected from customers and from the industry to really look at both the direct and indirect costs. What we want to highlight today is, of course, the meaningful savings that comes when you start talking about eNotes. You get a lot of benefits with hybrids, but the meaningful savings really starts to kick in when you add eNotes to the equation through a hybrid with eNote closing, or even for those that are leveraging full RON as part of their business model. But that requires an extra step of implementation, implementing an eVault to be able to transact in eNotes. So while it can often be viewed as a complicated effort, we hope today's session will kind of demystify some of the concerns or the perceived impediments that might hold up an organization from really looking very constructively at leveraging eNotes in their business model. So let's dig in for a little bit more detail, just to level set with the group. An eNote, we use this term a lot. A lot of people hear about e-signatures and standards, but just in its simplest form, an eNote is an electronic promissory note. It is not a PDF. It is a tamper-safe digital asset that is e-signed by the borrower. So now we're transforming the form the collateral takes and being able to move the collateral in a very efficient, secure, expedited way is a game changer for participants in the mortgage market. An eVault is then that repository for how you contain and control your assets It's used, I like the description that it's really an electronic postal system to move your collateral very quickly, instantaneously. The eNote's available the minute the signer has applied their signature and it's been registered with MERS. That asset's ready to go. Once the closing is conducted, you can have it off to your warehouse lender, you can have it off to the GSEs, your correspondent investors. So it really is just an incredibly transparent way to create both visibility and certainty of your collateral. There's so many different aspects to the benefits. And so Dave, I'd really love to kind of have you chime in here and talk about, the different ways in which the value of eNotes or the different benefits that your company focused on.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Whitney, and thanks for having me on here. So a lot of the things you've already mentioned, right? Eliminating those lost notes. I can't tell you how many times our collateral people have told me notes were lost in the mail, and you got to do the back and forth, right? Delivery to the investors, the speed to investor is incredibly fast. And we have a subservicer. We can work directly with our subservicer. It's all white gloved. But primarily what we wanted to do is we wanted to start this journey being a differentiator in the market. We started our journey last February sometime in getting this, and we wanted to be a differentiator. We're a big tech company. We always say we're a tech company that does mortgages, right? So we're multi-award winners with ICE. We're big on technology. We wanted to be a lot of first to markets in the area. We want to minimize their shipping and handling costs, minimize the scanning of all the paper that comes back. I mean, we're reducing a lot of overhead and a lot of the stuff that just isn't necessary anymore.
Absolutely. I like to characterize that, the main benefits really tie to taking the non-value add parts of the business to really focus on the value add, the customer relationship, the operational execution, whether it's the closers being able to fund more quickly, have confidence that the documents are coming back from the table correct the first time,
Right.
And eliminating the need for, we'll talk about loan officers more because they're such a critical part of our business. Really, eliminating the need for them to have to go back to a customer after the deal is closed. Hey, sorry, paperwork got lost, we missed something, and we need to come back and make a couple corrections. That's never a good look on a relationship-based business, I'm sure.
Oh gosh, no, I did a whole study with Stratmore Group last year at Digital Mortgage, actually with SnapDocs. And customer experience is incredibly valuable to everyone. We're always looking out for the customer and providing the best customer experience. And we did a study that showed the most impact to your customer experience is the closing experience. I mean, let's think about this. A borrower, they start their transaction with you. It might be 60 days, depending on a lot of things, before they get to the closing table. I mean, they got to find a home, you got to go through appraisals, and God knows how those were during COVID. I mean, they were 3-4 weeks out. So they don't remember a lot during the process. And there may be some goods and bads and really goods until you get to closing. But if you don't have a good closing experience, that's the last thing that they remember. And it's the biggest impact on your customer experience score. And it's going to lead to referrals. Those that give you that 6, 7, 8 out of 10, if you have a fantastic customer experience at the end, they're now your 9s and 10s, and they're getting you more business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a relationship-based business. Digital technology doesn't take people out of the equation. It doesn't diminish the relationship. It actually amplifies and allows people to focus on the relationship. Nothing worse than, shuffling paperwork at a table. We have a lot of folks that like to say, let's do 5 minutes to sign and 45 minutes to celebrate, because it really is about the people and the celebration. A couple other benefits that I've heard talked about lately, and it's really interesting, is the enhanced audit and compliance of eNotes and digital closings. Really adds a lot of value on the back end. We all know that audit and compliance requirements continue to be such an important part of our business focus, and environmentally friendly. There's been some great studies, and with this increased sort of focus and attention to ESG, thinking about how we're taking paper out of the process, not only creating a single point of truth with documents, but being more environmentally friendly, saving the trees certainly has a meaningful impact as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You know, when we started adopting hybrids, we kind of tracked that a little bit to see how much of a time save it really was. And we had a lot of great settlement agent partners that were already SnapDocs customers. They were happy to get on our transactions and be a part of that. But they were saying that it took closings down from about a 30-minute to 3 to 5 minutes. And that stack of paper that we got back was from this down to about this. So, you know, the people doing the collateral on our side, when they got that back, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much nicer. You know, this stack is now 10 loans versus 1 loan.
It's unbelievable. You know, just getting a lot of that paperwork out of the way, you know, it's a time savings, you get it right the first time. So certainly a lot of benefits, but really to move into the eNote space and, you know, kind of move the collateral electronically does require the critical vault. And so as we think about that, I really want to talk about, you know, how you would advise your peers in the industry on selecting the right product and the right partnership to get started with eVault.
Yeah, I'll go.
So just as a high,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, so just as a high level, for the group, you know, when you're looking and evaluating eVault, and there are a lot of technologies out there, you're going to look for some foundational requirements, you know, the very bare minimum, you know, MERS integration, approval with the GSEs, meeting the MISMO standards, having the core functionality, of course, to accept and transfer notes, interoperability with different technologies, and of course, the integrity. So that's just the baseline, but then it comes into, you know, how functional, how intuitive and, you know, purpose built the technology is to suit your business and your needs. And so I wanted to really call out, you know, some of these key things that really take an eVault to the next level in terms of ease of use, ease of setting up, functionality, and, you know, kind of layering over that, of course, is the partnership. You know, the partnership that you have with the vendor, bringing expertise, you know, making the implementation easy and that ongoing customer support. So, you know, Dave, can you talk to a little bit about that and you know, how you went through your vendor selection process that ultimately led you to SnapDocs?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things that we were looking at, we were actually early hybrid adopters with ICE's product way back in early 2020. We use a platform, but we are also a mix of Consumer Connect and Simple Nexus on a point of sale. And we're also looking at Blend as a point of sale. But when we started looking at eVault providers, we're like, okay, ICE has an eVault partnership. Simple Nexus is providing an eVault partnership. Now I'm going to have these eNotes in a different spot. And what we really wanted to focus on was one eVault provider for all of that. So SnapDocs being tech agnostic was key for us because it just doesn't set us up for now, it sets us up for the future. Like I said, we're a technology focused company. If we want to pivot our technology strategy at the front end, having SnapDocs at the back end doesn't prohibit us from doing that. We still have that flexibility throughout the entire tech stack we have to maintain a proper closing at the end and a best customer experience. So being tech agnostic was honestly number one for us because it sets us up not just for now, but for many years in the future. Even if we built our own LOS and our own POS, which we never will do, I don't want to tackle that. But if we ever venture down that path, having the integration with SnapDocs because they provide everything with the APIs where we could integrate directly with SnapDocs for our own proprietary stuff was game changer for us, game changer. So, and being white gloved was also of most importance. We have a lot of DBAs. So I wanted to make sure that whoever we provided could meet that white gloved delivery for our customer. They want to make sure it's a consistent experience from front to end with the DBA. So SnapDocs hit it right on the head of that. And I wanted someone who has been there, done that, is an expert. And SnapDocs stood out to me. I mean, you guys, you know what you're doing. This is all you do. So you made it extremely easy for us from start to finish.
Well, that's great to hear. And that's really what true partnership is, making sure that, that we're bringing clients the expertise and experience, because, stepping into this digital space is somewhat new. Digital closings, especially eNotes, there's, new terminology, a couple steps to get set up and get those approvals. And really having that partnership or someone that can lead you through the way, it can be a frustrating process to try to navigate or learn it sort of on the fly. That can really delay implementation. And so that's, such an important part of the partnership that, we hope that clients and prospects are looking at. And maybe a little bit as we talk, we'll talk about your implementation experience, maybe the ongoing customer support. It's not that you were set up and, we handed off the keys and let you enjoy your new eVault, but the ongoing customer support that comes with day-to-day operations, that because it's not just getting started, it's really reaching your goals and scaling, right?
Absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. So let's really get into the meat of it, because I think this is the most impactful part of the story, is really hearing your experience, what it took from you to get from an idea into operation, and then ultimately scaling and reaching some successful goals. So I really want to ask, what was it like? How did it go? Can you tell us your story?
Yeah. So like I said, we started the journey last February. And we started very, very small. We wanted a nice controlled group. Honestly, guys, the technology is not the barrier to entry. That is the easy part. That is really the easy part. The hardest part, as most people on this call will know, is adoption from the end users and acceptance of change, right? So it's really important to us that we got that full adoption, and we were very careful in how we did this. So obviously it's new. Hybrids, everyone's like, oh, it's a buzzword. I don't know what it is. It's scary. It's like Chat GPT right now. Should we use Chat GPT? Should we not use Chat GPT? Right? Like, what's hybrid? How is it going to affect me as a loan officer? So we started with a very controlled group here at our corporate office, and a lot of our top performers. Getting your top performers in your company to adopt it and champion it for you is all you need to do, right? That is all you need to make this successful. Start with your top people and let them be the beacon of, you guys need to be doing this, because it's changed my customer experience from this to this to this to this. So we actually kind of changed our closing process in terms of notification. So we start before the hybrids, we were delivering clear to close directly to our borrowers. Those messages, congratulations, your message is clear to close, your loan's clear to close. Here's what to expect next from your closer. And at that point, the loan officer was kind of out of the process. We found that when we adopted the hybrid, it was really important to actually flip that and bring the loan officer in at the end. So instead of delivering that clear to close to the borrower, we delivered it to the loan officer. And we had a script for them of what the experience is going to be like. And we trained them on what that experience is going to be like for their borrower, so that they knew, because let's face it, the borrower is not going to contact the closer that they got an email from. They're going to call their loan officer. Well, I don't know what to do. What does this mean? Right? Mm-hmm. So it's really important that the loan officer is very well informed on the process. So as soon as we did that, our hybrid adoption rate went through the roof. As soon as they knew what the process was, we walked them through all the demos, and we turned the loan officers into personally delivering that clear to close. So we're increasing our customer experience. It's another touch point for that loan officer. Like you said, Whitney, tech doesn't replace the human element. As a matter of fact, it's going to enhance that human element. So we're bringing that loan officer right back in at the end of the process. They're saying, congratulations, here's what to expect next. You're going to get an email from SnapDocs where you can preview all of your closing documents. You can e-sign most of it right there at your home the day of. And then later that afternoon, you're going to spend 5 minutes at title. I'm going to meet you there. We're going to have a glass of champagne. You're going to get your keys. It's going to be a wonderful experience. And most of the time, that's what it was. So it took a lot of our loan officers' referrals from those 7/8s to those 9/10s, and they started getting more referrals from that because nobody else was providing that type of customer relationship and customer experience at the end of the process for them. So the journey was more, we started in February, we got to August was when we started to really ramp up. We did a lot of testing. We wanted to make sure we covered all of our bases, all the different loan types, et cetera. So August is when we started that controlled release with our top performers. And then November, we went live with the entire organization. November 1. We started out at about 25 to 30% hybrid, roughly. And by January, we were sitting at 70% hybrid. And honestly, we'd be higher than that if it weren't for, we have a lot of West Coast stuff. And in the state of California, there's some, they don't do things quite the same. So they do
Not quite the same way.
A lot of rush closings, and doc delivery was a little, they need it now. And 20 minutes to wait at the settlement agency was too long. So they needed it now to email it and what have you. But we've since with SnapDocs done accelerated hybrids. So they're actually delivering those within 2 to 3 minutes to the settlement agent. So it's ramping up our hybrid adoption just through the roof. And we're anticipating almost getting to 90% adoption by the end of this year. So
that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And such a quick transition then into eNotes then. You got the hybrid so quickly. So then you pivoted and added the eNote to the hybrid closing. We did.
And to be fair, the 60 days to first eNote could have been faster. We didn't even start the discussion with developing eNote and getting the vault and everything set up until early December. And we did our first eNote in mid-January. So, I mean, it was 45 days from when we started. And a lot of that was just waiting on MERS to get our eMERS registry and getting approval from GSEs and our sub-servicer. We'd actually, GoldStar didn't have to do a lot of the testing. It was SnapDocs that did all of that for us, the implementation process. Once the eVault was registered, we're registered with MERS, we're confirmed with Fannie, we're confirmed with our sub-servicer. They did a lot of the testing, pushed the eNotes back and forth. Yep, you're good to go. We delivered our first eNote the next day, no problems whatsoever. We did 40 since then. We're doing a controlled release of the eNotes, just as we did with the hybrids, to make sure we fully understand the process so we can control it better. And we just went live to the entire company with eNote acceptability April 1st.
That's extraordinary and great results. And I'd like to call out that your results are not unique. I mean, it's a great timeline. It talks to how quickly you can implement. Nobody likes to get into a 9, 12, 18-month implementation. They want to make a decision and start to realize the benefits. And it's extraordinary. Over 25% of SnapDocs clients are using eNotes, and that number is growing. Clients are achieving eNotes like you in 3 months or less. So moving very quickly. This is not, do not be deterred by the complication, that it's a complicated, uncertain process, because the team is really prepared to make that easy. And just hot off the presses, again, speaking to kind of that success, is in March, just over 10% of all new eNotes registered in MERS were originated through SnapDocs.
That's awesome.
So we're really excited to see the growth, because eNotes should become the standard medium for collateral. They make life easier. Any insights from kind of your back office team and moving notes and trading them on the secondary market? I know that we're still working on that adoption, but it's not just the customer experience, it's also being able to move operationally so much more quickly.
Oh yeah. Our collateral manager was just like, why didn't we do this 5 years ago? I was like, well, it wasn't available, but because we could just deliver things to our investors with lightning speed, reassign things back and forth without having to ship things back through the mail. And she's like, this is such a game changer for collateral. I mean, they can do so many more without having to increase staff or increase any sort of expenses whatsoever. And I want to go back a little bit. You touched on the support aspect that SnapDocs provides. And you're absolutely right. It's not just for the loan officer, but for the settlement agents as well. And a lot of settlement agents are very familiar with SnapDocs, but those that aren't, the SnapDocs team is there to help them throughout the entire process. I mean, we have our title companies reach out directly to SnapDocs support. They're always able to reach someone. Problems are solved within minutes. It's such a great customer experience, not just for the end customer, but for all parties involved.
Oh, that's great to hear. And that's been a concern, is settlement adoption.
Yeah.
How will settlement react? Many lenders, especially in the purchase market, you're not really sure. It's not necessarily a settlement partner you've worked with before and worried about their level of adoption. And so the success in seeing settlement really, be excited and find the process easy and intuitive really just makes it that much easier. Title doesn't want to deal with more paperwork. Getting, again, a good portion of those e-sign documents out of the way means they're able to focus on those truly critical collateral documents. If still, the mortgage, the security, the name affidavit, being that much more mindful of the customer at the table and supporting that relationship. So settlement adoption, I has long been a concern. I'm glad to hear that that's definitely not the experience that you've had.
It's not the experience I've had with SnapDocs, but I will say it was the experience when we were looking at this about 2 years ago. It was even with hybrid adoption with ICE at the time, they were with Simple File doing that. And that was one of our biggest hurdles, was settlement adoption. If there was anything in the process that just didn't look right or they had any struggle with, they're like, no, just email me the package and we'll deal with it from there. It's like, and we've not had that problem at all with SnapDocs.
Well, that's great to hear, and great for everyone to know that these barriers, these concerns really aren't as significant, or really shouldn't be holding up efforts and projects to get started. Believe it or not, we've gone pretty quickly through the time, and I could talk for another hour or so. We did want to save time for some questions. We are here to help you. Dave's been there, he's seen it, he's done it. I lived in this space implementing all types of e-close. So gosh, what are your questions? How can we help you today?
We've got a question, Whitney and Dave. Thanks for making simple what seems complicated. What are your suggestions on how notaries like me can use this information to further credential ourselves for eNote's closing? Great presentation.
Well, I can throw out a couple ideas, and Dave, I'd love your thoughts. But notaries are and will continue to be such an important part of the process. They're there with the clients, advising them in terms of what documents they're signing. The important part is that just making sure that the notary understands that it's going to be a digital closing, and confirming or asking, did you review your documents? Did you have a chance? Did you e-sign ahead of time? Making sure that the customer was able to get that e-sign portion complete is probably the most important question. There's a lot of reminders and alerts that go out, but when a notary knows that it's an electronic closing and a lot of documents were e-signed ahead of time, just confirming that part is really a great step for customers, and shows that you're supportive of the process, and in partnership you understand what the customer journey has been up to that point.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. I mean, I would just say that we're all looking forward to increased RON adoption throughout all the different government entities. And I've been watching the news very carefully to see, because that's been the biggest hurdle for RON, is it's just not really accepted everywhere by local municipalities and whatnot. So getting up to speed on RON and where it's available, and hopefully that'll drive eNote adoption and digitization of the mortgage industry even faster if we can get that pushed through federally.
Absolutely. And eNote adoption, getting started now is really the key, because you highlighted some key things earlier, Dave. You said it's less about the technology and more about the people and the process. So it's very important to, hammer those things out, get your change agents moving forward, transforming your business, because it enables you to move much more quickly and nimbly into the future.
Excellent. Elaine tells us that she can attest that the hybrid process with SnapDocs has dramatically reduced the cost and reduced the signing errors. Borrower feedback is overwhelmingly positive, and work on the eNote RON process now. So thank you very much for that comment. Someone wanted to see the study that you referenced, Dave. You got some interest there. So
with Stratmore Group, yes. Tony, if I find that link, that was with.
I dropped it.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect.
I dropped it into the
Perfect.
chat, so anybody who wants that report can go to the link in the chat and get that. We've got a question, and I apologize, I'm not sure what the reference is for blockchain technology. I think that's all of the things that are included in this process. So is that something that you guys could speak to?
I think there's a perception that eNotes are a bit of a blockchain technology. They aren't a blockchain, but what they are is a secure digital format that meets a secure standard, and they're tamper sealed. So the data in the eNote cannot be manipulated or modified based on the security protocols built in to eNote. So blockchain is definitely a buzzword that's out there. This is not a blockchain technology, but I know title is an area where blockchain has some opportunity and some future, but we won't go down that today.
Excellent, Corey. I hope that answered your question. If not, if you want to do a follow-up, I'll read that out for you. And then have you run into investors who do not accept eNotes?
So as of right now, one, and I won't name drop, but for the most part, all investors are very open and accepting eNotes, and actually have been for quite some time. We found that we were worried about that as well, is how many investors were we going to have to reduce who we can deliver eNotes to. But for the most part, every one of the investors that we work with are accepting of eNotes. You just have to sign your riders to accept them.
Yep. And it's worth mentioning that the part of the implementation or even just evaluation, the SnapDocs team will run an e-eligibility assessment, help you look through your business, really understanding how you can be and where the opportunity is. There certainly are a couple correspondent investors out there. We hope to transform them or transition them quickly. I can say on the warehouse side, there's been incredible adoption for those that use warehouse banks for funding. Just the physical control of the assets, their secured interest, managing their assets has been a huge lift. So a lot of great momentum in the warehouse side, and correspondence definitely a fast follower.
Excellent, thank you. We had a follow-up to that. The Federal Home Loan Bank doesn't accept eNotes for collateralization, that's easy for me to say, contracts yet. Could be a while.
They're getting close. So many of the Federal Home Loan banks, don't quote me on the number, but of the 11 banks, I want to say the majority do have a collateral pledging program that accepts eNotes, and they're moving in that direction. So happy to work with you if you have any questions, because not only are the Federal Home Loan banks accepting eNotes as pledged collateral, they're also working with their members on purchase programs. So their conventional and Govy programs purchasing assets and hoping to transition their members to eNotes. So definitely eNotes are top of mind at the FHLBs, and we're excited to see that progress.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, this is the last chance. Any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Closing comments from you, Whitney or Dave?
Well, I'll just say I really appreciate the partnership with SnapDocs. We're looking forward to continued success. And thank you, Tony, and the Mortgage Collaborative for having me on here today.
Our pleasure.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Dave. We really appreciate it.
Well, and from the Mortgage Collaborative, Gold Star Financial, great lender partner. Thank you so much. SnapDocs, preferred partner. Love you guys. So grateful and thankful that you are with us in the network. Really love that you guys are here, and thank you so much for all of this great content today. So to everyone, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it, and come back anytime to the TMC Connect for more great content. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye.